Dawn at Gold Beach, Arromanches, and the scene is already frantic with activity and bathed in the warm glow of nostalgia. The 80th anniversary of the Normandy landings has for many here, all woolen shirts and webbing, particular resonance.
I'm here with my son. We're here to, in honour of our uncle who landed on this beach.
Your thoughts when you look out over the channel this morning and imagine?
Teary, very, very emotional, lump in the throat time. Just thinking about the waste of life, really, and what they gave their lives for.
The day came cloaked in symbolism, from the Royal Marines of 4-7 Commando emerging further along Gold Beach, just as their predecessors had done so 80 years earlier, to American troop reenactments on Utah Beach. Thousands looked on.
I will hold back.
At Vers-sur-Mer, Sir Tom Jones sang before a backdrop of more than 22,000 names, those who died under British command on D-Day and the Battle of Normandy.
We are here today to remember the sacrifice of the tens of thousands who did not make it home. And we are here to honour the service of those who did.
We will remember them.
One of the few veterans present laid a wreath. Local school children handed them roses. Earlier, they heard the King speak of the imperative for free nations to stand together to oppose tyranny.
Among the names inscribed on the walls and pillars of this memorial are men and women from more than 30 different nations. Our gratitude is unfailing and our admiration eternal.
As the French president left the British ceremony with a wink to the King, the flaunting of long-standing alliances looked almost cinematic as he next joined the American president.
Monsieur Robert Pelligot.
Here, American veterans received France's highest honour, their vast losses on the killing zone of Omaha Beach so memorably depicted by the actor Tom Hanks and director Steven Spielberg.
History tells us freedom is not free.
Biden, with one eye on his own political battles, warned against isolationism and issued yet another rallying cry on Europe's latest war.
Ukraine has been invaded by a tyrant. We will not walk away. The price of unchecked tyranny is the blood of the young and the brave. In their generation, in their hour of trial, the Allied forces of D-Day did their duty. Now the question for us is, in our hour of trial, will we do ours?
And it was Ukraine's president today who walked into the international ceremony to widespread applause and this reception from a veteran.
The Ukrainian Prime Minister is busy fighting right now. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're the savior of the people. Here's my eyes.
Among the world leaders, no Vladimir Putin. One more glaring reminder of how that old alliance, so fated today and in which Russia was once so pivotal, now lies buried ever deeper in the battlefields of Ukraine. The Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, met the Ukrainian president. Rishi Sunak, by now, had left seemingly. A Tory source reportedly played down the diplomatic impact of his absence, pointing out the Prime Minister will meet G7 leaders next week. In Arromanches this evening, the veterans had the town thronging the streets. A final chance, perhaps, to see the last of the liberators, to thank them again. What's it been like meeting all of these people?
Just wonderful, isn't it? Sorry, yeah.
No problem.
No, it brings memories back, it does, you know, it's the trouble. It does. But this has been great. People have been great here, they have. Very great.
Of all the commemorations you've been to, how would you rank this one?
The best.
It has been a week rich in reflection. Tonight, the goodbyes looked as joyous as the liberating hellos, which we can only imagine, and only they perhaps can recall.
Keep smiling through, just like
Savouring this moment in the streets of Normandy, 80 years on, the last of the D-Day veterans.
Well, joining me now from Manchester is Warhorse author Sir Michael Morpurgo, whose new book, Finding Alfie, A D-Day Story, was written to mark today's 80th anniversary. Sir Michael, a really poignant reminder of the past there, but unmistakable parallels with the present, with war returning to Europe once again.
Yes, sadly. I never thought to see it in my lifetime. I'm a war baby, born in 43, so I grew up with the shadow of that war all around me, not knowing much about it to start with, but gradually I'm beginning to understand what war does to flesh, what it does to families, what it does to buildings, and then coming to the conclusion eventually in my life that peace is the answer. And so I write about war because it affected me deeply. I was affected. I lost an uncle, and actually it's not the right thing to say. I never knew an uncle. My uncle Peter was killed aged 21 in the RAF. And I saw in the family the hurt and the loss that went on all their lives. My mother would always weep on his birthday and on the 11th of November. It was a huge thing in those early post-war years, as one saw the evidence of what had happened. And now, yes, we look at our televisions and we see the rubble and we see the misery, and you think, well, where has it all gone wrong?
And you had a veteran there in Andy Davies' piece saying what they gave their lives for, remembering that. But as the world is once again engulfed by war, what did they give their lives for 80 years ago?
Well, I suppose I've had a life until very recently which has been peaceful. We sort of all have. Yes, we've had difficulties and unpleasantnesses and all the rest of it, but we have lived by and large in peace. Well, that was a peace that was given to us by these people. It didn't happen by accident. They had to get rid of tyranny and fascism before we could live that life. So they gave us that. Now, what have we done with it? That's the interesting thing. What have other countries done with it? And yes, we seem to be falling into the same traps of tyrannical regimes rising up and then threatening others. And we don't seem to have learned. And maybe I don't know, maybe there's something in humanity that doesn't seem to be able to learn the big lessons. And I find that sometimes found really depressing, but I mustn't be depressed because there is hope.
Well, I'll come back to that. Is there hope? But I wonder, you meet a lot of children, you write books for children. Your latest book, Finding Alfie, was written with the aim of keeping the memory of D-Day alive for younger generations. I wonder what you think those who made the ultimate sacrifice 80 years ago, would they be proud of today's younger generation, do you think?
Oh, yes, I don't doubt that at all. I really am convinced that they were very much like our children when they were children, and they grew up and they had to face what they faced, and I think our children would do the same. Their society was by no means ideal, ours isn't, but I think they've had enough of an education, and they have had more insights into the world around them than that generation had. And I think one mustn't ever think that these children don't have the potential to grow into whatever it is that they have to do. I mean, they read books, and books are critical, going to the theatre. They have learnt about empathy and knowledge and understanding, and that's going to be the way forward. You have to have faith in that. Otherwise, you might as well give up and shrug your shoulders and walk off. Well,
and so to hope then, because, the King said we wouldn't flinch if we were asked, if we were challenged again. We had to meet that test. But is there hope, briefly?
Yes, I think there is hope. I mean, I went once to a school in Israel where Arabs and Jews children went to school together. And I made kites of peace with them. It was the one school in Israel where this happened.
But it starts with these small seeds of peace. And there are examples. Think of Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland has been an example. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, no one ever thought that could be sorted. And I don't say it's totally sorted, but you have to have hope, and it's hope that did that, and good people.
So, Michael, well, that's a very good note on which to end. Thank you very much for joining us.